Is St. Augustine, Florida the best small town in the entire state of Florida? Now, when you talk about hotspots in Florida, everyone's talking about Orlando, Naples, Miami, Tampa, some of those big metropolitan areas. But could this small town actually stack up against these major metropolitan areas? Some people think yes, and some people are thinking that St. Augustine is losing its charm. So in today's video, I plan on giving you the full picture. I want to give you the stats on why St. Johns County is one of the fastest growing counties in the state and also the entire country. We're going to talk about some of the lifestyle perks that attract people to move here, and then we're also going to talk about some of the negatives that may make you think twice before you pack your bags and move here to our beautiful city. Now make sure you stick with me, because by the end, you'll find out if Florida is the best small town for you to live in, or if it's just hype. So let's go ahead and start with the numbers. You know, I'm a data-driven person. Let's take a look at it. First, let's talk about growth here in St. Johns County. It's not only a popular spot, but it's one of the fastest growing counties in the nation and the state. So if we take a look at the nation, World Population Review says that we're actually in the top 20 fastest growing counties when you're looking at numbers between 2020 and 2025. You see that our area has grown by about 25%. And when you look at the state of Florida, we're actually the second fastest growing county, just under Sumter County in the entire state, growing once again at about 25% between 2020 and 2025. But that growth didn't just happen because of the pandemic, it was happening well before that as well. If you go back a decade and you take a look at how many people have been moving here, St. Johns County has added over 100,000 residents to the area. And they don't think that this is going to slow down at all. Matter of fact, if you take a look at the St. Johns County Comprehensive Plan, which is putting out the next 25 years of where they think things are going, they expect our area to double. Our current population for the entire area here in St. Johns County, where the city of St. Augustine is located, is going to be about 360,000 people. But they expect by 2050 for that to grow to 665,000 people. And this is actually not a study by the government. This is a study by UF, which is the University of Florida here in the state of Florida. UF did a study on all of the counties in Florida, and St. Johns County is going to be one of the ones that grows the most over the next 25 years. But before we get to what makes the city of St. Augustine so special, I do want to address the elephant in the room, and we're going to talk about some of the weather hurricanes and its impact on insurance. But this is also going to be one of the biggest pros of living here in St. Johns County. Just follow me for a second. So if we take a look at favorable days of weather, which is going to be somewhere between 65 and 85 degrees with a little bit of humidity, you're going to see that really northeastern Florida and the northern part of Florida is going to be the ideal spot to live in the entire state. But when you compare that to the rest of the southeast, you compare that to the other coast, you're going to see that there's really only a handful of places that have this favorable weather, which is going to be northeastern Florida and also coastal California and the San Diego area. We all know they got beautiful weather out there, there's no doubt about it, but we also got some great weather here in St. Augustine. On top of that, we also have one of the lowest risks for a direct hit of a major hurricane than the rest of the state of Florida. If you take a look at the graphic I'm putting up, you'll see that St. Johns County was only hit over the past 125 years 4 times with a direct hurricane making landfall in St. Johns County. Now, of course, have we been affected by the bands of hurricanes coming across the state or going up through South Florida? 100%, but we haven't had as many direct hits as if you're looking at South Florida or if you're looking at the Panhandle here in the state of Florida. And then that ties in to the cost of insurance here in the area. I've done a whole bunch of videos about the insurance crisis here in the state of Florida. You can take a look at one above, but here in northeastern Florida, we've been relatively insulated from that because we don't get hit with hurricanes as much. So the cost of insurance is typically cheaper here than throughout the rest of the entire state of Florida. On average, the annual insurance premium is $4,400 up to $6,000 a year here in the state of Florida. But here in northeastern Florida, most insurance premiums are going to be around $2,500 to $3,000 a year, which is on par with the rest of the nation. So I addressed the concerns about the insurance issue here and the hurricane issue in the state of Florida. Those things are not going away, but here in northeastern Florida, we tend to fare much better than the entire state, which makes it one of the better reasons to live here, especially if you're scared of hurricanes and flooding and all the issues that come with it. So one of the things that makes St. Augustine so special is the historic charm of the town. It was originally founded in 1565 by the Spanish, and since then it's been passed from the Spanish to the English to the French into the United States hands, of course, ultimately, but it's been known to be the European city of the South and the state of Florida because of how unique it is. You can actually find small details of like where parts of St. Augustine looks like the French Quarter and parts of it looks like the Colonial Quarter, and some of it has a Spanish flair. So you can see almost the history of it trading for the past hundreds of years within the architecture of the city, which is amazing. So whether it's the nightlife, the beautiful waterfront, or the beautiful cobblestone streets that we have lining our historic downtown, there's plenty of reasons to move here outside of that. And one of the main reasons that people move here, outside of the beautiful beaches, outside of the beautiful downtown historic area, is going to be St. Johns County School District. St. Johns County School District has been rated #1 or #2 best school district in the entire state out of, I think, 67 counties, 67 different school districts, which is a high honor to have. It's been rated A since they started rating schools back in 2004. It's one of the best school districts in the entire state, which also has a ton of people moving here because they want to have the good lifestyle of taking your family to the beach, taking them down to the amphitheater for a show, but they also want their kids to have the best education possible, which is what St. Johns County provides within the entire state of Florida. But that also comes with a cost. The median sale price within the state of Florida is going to be south of $400,000, but St. Johns County is actually going to be around $500,000 for your median sale across the entire county. So it is a lot more expensive because of the amazing amenities that we have here, but you can still find a ton of affordability. Some of the new construction projects that they have going on, and they have 350 planned and ongoing new constructions going on right now, are offering some of the best incentives that you're going to see in terms of the best deal for you and your family. Most of them are buying your interest rates down to 4.5%, 5%. All of them are paying closing costs in some form or fashion, or throwing in incentives and dollar amounts towards the design center of the future of your new home. So that's one of the best things that this area has to offer is like, yeah, you may pay for a $500,000 house, but you'll get a 4.5% interest rate. And then when you compare our area versus Miami or a Naples or a Tampa, you'll see that we're actually still more affordable and offer very similar amenities. And another thing that's a huge draw for our area, and I mentioned it slightly before, is going to be the St. Augustine Amphitheater. It's an outdoor venue nestled in Anastasia State Park right on the island, and it's going to house about 4,000 people. They bring a lot of good acts through there, so there's a whole bunch of good shows throughout the year that you can enjoy. But it's probably one of my favorite venues, and I go to a ton of concerts, and it's actually proven to be the #2 amphitheater in the entire United States, obviously behind Red Rocks Amphitheater. But that's only because we can operate year-round. But we're #3 in the entire country in terms of outdoor amphitheaters, which is a pretty impressive stat to hang our hat on. And it's crazy, I've actually been talking for 3 or 4 minutes and I didn't even cover like, okay, let's talk about beaches here in the area, let's talk about golfing in the area, let's talk about some of the dining in the area. And I don't want to go too hard on this, but we have beautiful beaches here. We got Volano Beach, we got Michler's Beach, we also have Crescent Beach and Butler Beach, Matanzas Inlet. All of them are beautiful in their own respect. My favorite one is going to be Crescent Beach. You can drive on the beach there. It's also huge between the dunes and the water. You probably have about 50 yards. So there's a lot of space to spread out. You're not going to be right on top of other people playing their music next to you and disturbing you with their family or whatever they're doing, drinking or having fun, their dogs, whatever they're doing. You have a good bit of elbow room over there in Crescent Beach, and it's way less touristy. Also, golf is a big attraction to our area. We of course have TPC Sawgrass, which is in the northern part of the county, which is a huge attraction, huge tourist attraction here for our area every single year. But we also have great boating here in the area. Whether you want to do it in the intercoastal or if you want to do it in the Atlantic Ocean, there's something for everybody. If you're looking to go out there and fish or hang out on a boat, or just do whatever you want to do, you want to pull up to a sandbar and just have a good beach day, you can do that on one of the random sandbars throughout the intercoastal. But all this good stuff does come with some bad stuff. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I give it to you straight here on this channel. Ask any questions you have in the comments, but this is where I'm going to tell you some of the bad stuff about living here in St. Augustine. I mentioned earlier in this video, St. Johns County has a development tracker where you can see how many active projects and how many active projects they have going on and how many future projects they have planned. And right now, they have 350 planned unit developments coming to St. Johns County, which is a ton of planned communities coming here. Whether they'll all get approved or they'll all get denied, that's to be seen. But there's a ton of new construction. You just drive throughout the northern part or anywhere in the county here, you're going to find some new construction available in an HOA and CDD community where you're going to have a beautiful amenity center and you're also going to have a brand new home. So that is a double-edged sword because One, prices are increasing, but two, also congestion, traffic, infrastructure is also becoming an issue. St. Johns County does have a ton of infrastructure projects in the works, but we're playing catch up at this point. The second negative of all the good stuff I just covered is that because so many people want to move here, the prices are continuing to rise here in the area. In 2020, the median sale price was around $360,000, and now it's around $500,000. And for locals, is essentially made home ownership unaffordable for them, because many of the people that live and work here live and work closer to downtown St. Augustine, where we have the hospitality industry that provides most of the jobs here. And then of course, I covered all these beautiful things. I covered why people want to come here, and people come here in droves. We have about 6 to 8 million visitors every single year in the tourism industry. So there's a ton of people that visit and love our town, but that can be a huge headache if you're just trying to enjoy the town on your own. If you want to go downtown during one of the peak seasons, we're talking about spring break, summer, winter break, you're probably going to have to wait for a restaurant. You're probably going to have to wait for parking or pay through the nose for parking. It's just one of those areas that people come to during those times of years because they want a little bit of rest and relaxation. That, for locals, for many locals, is a big problem because it doesn't allow us to enjoy the town that we live in. Overall, once you do become a local, all these problems are honestly not too bad because you figure your way around. And I talked about traffic and congestion, but if you're coming from a major metropolitan area, especially coming from like South Florida or New York, which a ton of people are relocating from that area to here, the traffic here is not going to be anything that you find significant. I just helped someone that moved from Philly, and he's on the Facebook pages, and he sees that all these people complain about traffic. They're normally locals who have lived here for 10, 20 years or their whole lives, and they remember when there was, oh, this area only had one stoplight before, and now it's a 1,000 home subdivision. They remember that time, and they remember what the traffic was like. We're not in those times anymore, but he was like, man, I wish these people, I'd take them back to Philly, I'd show them what real traffic is, because when we have traffic down here, it's nothing compared to what you see in other metropolitan areas. All right, so I covered some of the negatives, but I want to cover this big X factor, right? Like, what does St. Augustine have that the rest of Florida doesn't have? And we covered some of the great things, the historic charm, the schools, we talked about the costs here, we talked about a lot of stuff, right? But this is my personal belief that makes this town a little bit sweeter, is that it's still a small town where you get to know your neighbor, you get to know people as you go out. There's a group for something and everybody. If you want to join a book club, a wine club, a dinner club, you want to go join kayaking groups, whatever it is, there's a group for someone here. And aside from that, like, I love that. I love knowing that I know a lot of my neighbors, and that when I'm out, I see them about and I say, hello, how you doing? All that kind of stuff. That's kind of lost in a lot of places here in Florida. I still feel it's a small town feel, right? Where you know people, you go out, you see someone you know. That's something that I love that you really can't put a price tag on. And I think that's one of the main things that people worry about when they move here, right? Whether you're from New York, California, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, South Florida, they wonder, like, am I going to come here? Am I going to fit in with these people, right? And the good thing is like, whether you talk to a local, and locals here for the most part are salt of the earth, very sweet people, or you talk to someone who's from the same area as you, you're going to find a group of people. Quick little anecdotal story here. I helped a guy move from Long Island over to the Entrada neighborhood over here, and his name's John. Fantastic guy. He invited me to his 4th of July party this past year. So me and my wife, my baby, went over to his 4th of July party, and he had this place jumping. He had tents outside his garage. He had a DJ there. He had shrimp boil and crawdad boil and everything. He had assimilated here in St. Augustine better than most people do anywhere. And he's got all his friends. And most of the people you're in there, you're hearing New York, New Jersey accents, all within this, 4-bedroom, 3-bath house in the area. But he probably had 30 or 40 people at his 4th of July party. He also got the HOA to approve him doing fireworks. He's an lineman, he's an electrician, so he was able to have like a little digital thing and shoot off fireworks. Crazy, but that's one of the good things, is that when you move here, you can find your people, right? And more than likely, when you're in a new construction neighborhood especially, everyone there is new as well, and they want the same thing. So all in all, who is this town perfect for? Now, I honestly think there's a little bit of something here for everybody, but if you're looking to move down here with your family, you want good schools, you want a good lifestyle, you want to go to the beach on weekends, it's going to be a top tier place for you to check out. If you're looking to retire, looking for a slower pace of life, but you want to get out of maybe the metro areas, but you still want to have things to do, St. Augustine's a great option for you. If you're a remote worker, St. Augustine has one of the biggest remote worker populations in the entire country. I think it's just behind Atlanta. About 25% of our workforce here is remote work, which is crazy to even think about. So it offers the lifestyle available for most people and the housing for remote workers as well. If you want a dedicated office or something like that, definitely find that here. And then finally, people craving like the small town beach lifestyle, which anymore, you know, you go through a lot of places through the Northeast. It was once a small town, it's not anymore, right? Things have just blown up so much over the past couple of years. You look at some of the I was looking at prices of properties in the Jersey Shore area. Just curious because me and my wife are big Jersey Shore fans. Don't hold that against me. But the numbers they want for a little shit shack is insane, right? For what you get here for $1 million versus what you get there is totally different, right? And you can say the same thing with Miami, you can say the same thing with California, many places in New York and New Jersey. I think the value here is still good. So what do you guys think? Do you think St. Augustine is the best small town in the state of Florida? Let me know in your comments below. If you are looking to buy, sell, or invest, make sure you reach out to me directly. All you have to do is call, text, or email. I'd love to be able to help you make your next move here to Florida. Have a good one.